AskRedd by deleted. What urban legend needs to die? That if you swallow gum it takes 7 years to digest. That if you ask if someone's a cop, they have to tell you if they are a cop. Right, we've been planning this undercover operation for months. Time to infiltrate this organized crime gang. Are you a cop? Fuck. Our 7th grade English teacher Miss Jackson was not in Playboy in the 1980s. It does not matter that your brother's cousin's neighbor has the actual issue and they are going to bring it into school someday. I'm sorry Miss Jackson. Detoxing treatments. No Sharon. Harmful chemicals are not just going to ooze out of your face and feet if you use that mask. That's not how the human body works at all, damn. My favorite was some celebrity pushing alkaline water. She said my favorite way to drink it is with a drop of lemon juice. Like, honey, that's an acid. You've just neutralized any alkaline in the water. 2 claps. That you need to wait 24 hours to report someone as missing. You can, and should, report someone as missing as soon as they go missing. It could be the difference between finding someone who had a bad fall at home or getting lost in the forest, and finding their body. Had a full-blown helicopter search last week at a lake near my house because a kid went missing for about 10 minutes. They found him playing at a near playground about half an hour later. But the police press guy said that the mother did the right thing, especially the kids went missing so close to a lake. You can't get STDs from oral sex. One of the clinics I work at is a free sexual health clinic. Too many women are in there for mouth, throat, other digestive problems stemming from unprotected oral sex and various STDs. STDs are wild. You can get them in your eyeballs. That you can target fat on a particular place on your body, like tummy fat. Fat doesn't know where it lies. Edit. I am, believe it or not, aware of the existence of plastic surgery. You don't need to tell me about it. Been lifting for about 10 years now. Anytime I hear someone say something about target fat loss, I just say if you could target fat loss, there'd be a lot of fat guys with 6-packs. You don't eat spiders in your sleep. Do you fucking promise? Blood is blue inside your body and damp, red when it comes out. Nope. I'm pretty sure I was taught this in primary school at one stage. Don't know why the teacher ever told us that. Total BS. That some guy tried to sneak acid into a festival by taping it to his body and it absorbed through his skin and now he thinks he's a glass of orange juice or a sunflower. When I was in high school in the 80s, he ended up in the psych ward thinking he was an orange. Poor guy didn't even get a festival. Boiling frogs. Frogs jump out of water when it gets too warm for them. The important detail that is always neglected with this is that prior to slowly boiling the frogs, the scientist had to sever the brain stems in order to keep them from hopping out when it became uncomfortable. That touching baby birds or rabbits will cause their mothers to reject them because they smell like human. They absolutely will not. Don't go messing with babies for kicks, but if you can put a baby that you are 100% sure belongs there, back in its nest, do so. If you aren't sure, call a wildlife rehabilitator so you're not putting fledglings where they don't belong. You can move bunnies and they'll just dig a new hole somewhere else. Source: I had a big ass dog that would constantly dig up any rabbit holes he found. I would just move the bunnies behind the fence and everything was okay. That it's a felony offense to rip the tag off of your mattress. There was a major scandal in the past, where a couple mattress manufacturers were recycling used mattresses, restuffing them, and subsequently reselling them. It is only illegal for stores and manufacturers to rip the tags off of new mattresses for sale. However, once you buy it, and your mattress warranty expires, usually after 1 year or less, feel free to rip that annoying tag off. TBH back in the 80s the tag only stated do not remove this tag under penalty of law, and every single 80s kid was terrified of doing this. I think it was in the late 90s that they finally added some language that clarified that the end client could remove the tag. That Marilyn Manson had a rib removed to suck his own member. He even said he didn't in an interview. He said, well, if I did, you think I'd be here right now? All the ones about human trafficking that create a totally fictionalized idea of what human trafficking actually looks like. If you want to see what real human trafficking is in America, do research on Asian massage parlors. I used to fly back and forth to Shanghai and was amazed how many Asian women were getting detained with multiple passports or being asked at the flight gates why they only stayed in the US for 2 days. The idea that there are people in your neighborhood just waiting for the chance to poison your kids by giving them unwrapped Halloween candy. Or that they're giving out free drugs. That daddy long legs are the most venomous spiders in the world, but their fangs just aren't big enough to spread enough venom. Edit, I'm referring to Scylla spiders. Daddy long legs is a vague term that describes several types of arachnids, none of them are venomous though. Wait, shit, they can bite ? People giving out free drugs to kids. If someone offers you free drugs, say thank you, because drugs are expensive. That people only use 10% of your brain. That is only true for politicians. It's possible to use 100% of the brain, though. It's an ancient technique called having an epileptic seizure. Sex does not have a lasting impact on vaginal tension. See this way too often. The truth is the vagina crushes penises and makes them smaller over time, but men can't handle this. Phil Collins and the reason he wrote In the Air Tonight. It was about his divorce. There was an interview about it. Edit, the urban legend I heard was that a friend of Phil's drowned and a guy let him drown. Years later, the guy was at Phil's concert, so Phil put the spotlight on the guy and sang this song. That's my version of what I heard. I met a guy who earnestly told me that Freddie Mercury was a murderer. Why, you ask? Well, it's obvious. He literally says he just killed a man in Bohemian Rhapsody. Isn't that just a melodramatic song lyric? No, you see, it's a metaphor for his complicity in spreading AIDS through unprotected gay butt sex. You see, when Freddie Mercury wrote the lyrics to Bohemian Rhapsody, he somehow knew about the spread of HIV in the gay community, including its manner of transmissions and the fact that he himself was HIV positive, despite the song being released in 1975, several years before the disease was even identified as such in 1981. That doctors will let you die if you are an organ donor to steal your organs. My stepson actually believed this and also believed that the same was true for EMS personnel that worked on ambulances. I actually got into an argument with him about it because I thought that was the stupidest thing ever, as if the medics are pulling out your wallet to check your donor status before they start administering first aid. Once I pointed that out, he started to reconsider the ridiculousness of the theory, but I'm pretty sure he still believes that it's true once you get to the hospital. That the McDonald's hot coffee lady had a frivolous lawsuit. The coffee was so hot it fused parts of her genitals and she had to have several reconstructive surgeries. And they also knew they served coffee too hot and had similar complaints in the past. She wanted compensation to cover expenses, only about $20,000 in total, but they refused. It was the resulting case that led to the payout. It could all have been avoided. That there are hot women in my area waiting for me to chat with them. That it's super illegal to turn on your car's inside dome light while driving at night. This one should just stay MHO. If it keeps one kid from turning on lights in the car once, it's worth it. That vaccines cause autism. This one is less myth than intentional misinformation. There was indeed a study showing this and it was conducted by a medical doctor, but 3 important factors are always ignored. First, legitimate studies are repeatable, meaning that if another doctor does the same thing they should get the same result. While this has been attempted, not once has anyone successfully duplicated the results. Second, the doctor involved was later found to have received a large payment from a law firm that neither he nor the firm could explain. The same law firm was at that time trying to bring a class action lawsuit against a vaccine manufacturer. Finally, the doctor was later stripped of his medical license for falsifying data. Yet people still insist his study was legitimate, and the hundreds of studies that refute his claims are part of a conspiracy. That baby deer are abandoned. I once ran across a baby deer in some woods near an office park I used to work in, built in the middle of nowhere thanks to Atlanta's out-of-control suburban sprawl. It bleated at me, and I got the hell out of there before its mom showed up and kicked me to death. Black cats are evil. No, they're not. Edit. Getting spammed with all cats are evil. Guys, I'm referring to different urban myths around the world which states that a black cat is demonic possession or just pure evil, related to witch and stuff. They're cute. They're like a little void that comes up to you and asks for pats. That vaginas get loose from having sex. There's really men out here that believe this. I love that it's implied that they're loose if they've had sex with a lot of different men. But if it's the same guy over and over, it doesn't get loose. That MSG is toxic. Edit. As an Aussie, it took me a minute to work out what all the replies about MTG meant, but yes, seeing the full name, I agree. Marjorie Taylor Greene is as toxic as cyanide. No urban legend there. Fucking lunatic. Especially as an Aussie, it's like WTF America. People laugh and think I'm joking when I tell them the secret ingredient in my fried rice is a bunch of MSG. I'm not joking. That Bill Nye is either dead or got busted for some drug related thing. I hear it every year from my students, and every year I have to tell them that no, the nerdy bowtie scientist from the Disney Channel did not get busted trying or offload 3 pounds of meth on some undercover cops. He was teaching them how to cook. Probably even telling them the exact chemical processes of it. The idea that GMOs are bad for you. Seriously, we've been modifying plants and animals for years via breeding. Stuff like CRISPR is basically just a more precise version of that, the difference between doing surgery with an obsidian dagger and a sterilized scalpel. Loch Ness Monster. It's been here since the dinosaurs. It just needs 350. Twin brothers Lemon Jello and Orange Jello. And their classmate Lay. If you look under that one truck in Pokemon, you can find a Mew. Coca-Cola did not invent Santa Claus Christmas tradition of choice. All they did was standardize red and white as Santa Claus's definitive colors. Before that, it was common to see him depicted in green or purple or blue as well as red and white. That Dr. Seuss cheated on his wife while she hadn't x equals 3. Rod Stewart and the Sailors. There's a book out there by a guy who worked for Rolling Stone and interviewed a lot of musicians, and once he'd asked a bunch of serious questions he'd often ask about crazy urban legends. When he interviewed Rod Stewart, he took the opportunity to ask about the stomach pump story, and Rod, who somehow had never heard it before, almost collapsed with hysterical laughter, saying once he'd recovered enough to speak that it was the best story he'd ever heard about himself. La Chupacabra. Enough is enough. Too many children have died wandering through the jungle, not to mention all the goats. We have to stop this thing once and for all. We've got like 2 of them down in South Alabama that eats my chickens, and it totally isn't the gorgeous fox family chilling in the den behind the property. That shaving something will make the hair thicker. I would say the megalodon. It's been extinct for millions of years and isn't sitting at the bottom of the fucking ocean waiting for the comeback of the century. It's dead, let's be thankful. They were a shallow water species. If they were still around, we'd know about it. That cats steal baby's breath. They got it backwards. Cats breathing into recently dead bodies gives that person cat powers, as evidenced in the 2004 documentary Catwoman. You can suffocate if you leave a fan on while you sleep. You can't. Urine is sterile. It's not. Highways have straight segments so that airliners can land on them in emergencies. They don't. You should drive at a normal speed in low visibility weather so the car behind you doesn't hit you. You should slow down. You can suck out the venom from snake bites. You can't. Men think about sex every 7 seconds. They don't. In Australia, some of our highways are actually airstrips for the Royal Flying Doctors who fly to the outback providing urgent medical care to people who are too far away from towns. Alpha males. That there's litter boxes in high school classrooms. I've heard this about 3-4 different schools in my area. Edit. I get there's litter to clean up vomit and for the active shooter stuff. I'm talking about the people who swear they know someone who says there's a litter box for a girl in a cat suit and bud plug tail who makes all the students watch her poop in the corner. It's an anti-Kia plus dog whistle. I had teachers that kept cat litter in their classrooms to help clean up vomit. Kids get sick a lot. Being afraid to flash lights at another car driving with their headlights off for fear that they'll chase you down and murder you. That NASA spent millions developing a pen for space when Russia just used a pencil. Truth is that Russia ironically found out that small pieces of graphite would float around and had potential risk of causing an electrical short. They too use the new NASA pen a year or two later. My dad coming back with the milk. The story about a pet snake measuring you. It's such a horse shit and explaining it every time I tell someone I have a snake is annoying. Snakes do measure you, but it's because they are insecure of their own heights and want to make sure that they are taller than you. If somebody's having a seizure, stick an object in their mouth to prevent them from swallowing their tongue. Like WTF? It's so they don't bite their tongue, but yeah, don't do that.